Hey everyone, today I'm going to be taking you through our solar setup and sharing the things that we would change next time if we could do it all over again. We've had a lot of people asking to share the solar setup with you, so we're going to show you everything from batteries to solar panels to what it powers at all. People want to know what it looks like and how they can adapt this to their own builds. And if you're trying to size the solar setup, you know it's a little bit tricky at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. So let's get into it. So we're gonna start at the top of the van with the solar panels. I have two 100-watt solar panels, so 200 watts of solar up top. Those are mounted with a homemade rain gutter roof rack system versus screwing them into the van. I know a lot of people do that, but for me, mounting them into the rain gutters was the best option, and buying a roof rack was not an option at all, so we made our own. These power absolutely every single outlet in the van, every appliance, and they're amazing panels. We have monocrystalline versus polycrystalline, and these are just known to be more efficient in general. So you've seen the solar panels. Now I'm going to show you the other big components of this whole system that make it work. So the first thing is this 20 amp MPPT solar charge controller. This is essentially the brain of the entire solar system. What it does is it takes the energy and tells it where to go and how fast to get there and when to go there. And PPT just means it's a little more efficient than the other options on the market, so that's why I went with this one. Up here is a 2000 watt inverter. Most people will have probably a 500 watt inverter, but I just went with the bigger one so I could always power anything I wanted, and I could run my blender, which was pretty high wattage to begin with. Down here are the batteries. Each battery is 100 amp hours, and I wired them in parallel. So that means the positive on the first battery is connected to the positive on the second battery, and the negative on the second battery is connected to the negative on the first battery. Wiring that way gives you a 12 volt system, whereas if I wired them in series, I'd have a 24 volt system. Also, wiring them in parallel, the way that I explained, gives me 200 amp hours in total. So AGM batteries should not, or deep cycle AGM batteries should not be run below 50% because it's a slow draw, and anything below 50% kind of ruins your batteries over time. So even though I told you I have 200 amp hours of power, essentially I'm left with 100 amp hours overall. So that seems to work pretty well for us. This 2000 watt inverter is directly connected to those batteries, and anytime I turn it on, it pulls power from the batteries and puts power into my 120 volt outlets throughout the van. This fuse block back here has a bus bar beside it. The bus bar houses the 12 volt negative, and the fuse block houses the 12 volt positive. There's a wire from each of those that leads all the way to this solar charge controller. So when I turn on my lights in the front, which are 12 volt, it comes to the solar charge controller that asks the batteries, hey, I'm turning on, can I take some power from you? And it pulls power through this solar charge controller and sends it all the way to this 12 volt fuse block in the blink of an eye. So it's very effective. And these solar panels run, when the sun is on them, into this solar charge controller. And instead of going straight to the batteries, it goes into here and says, how much power can I send into the batteries right now without overloading my batteries and giving them too much at once? So like I said, it's the brain of the system and tells everything what to do and when. This is the component you need in your in your off-grid solar setup, because it's gonna make everything work effectively. Nothing is gonna go wrong if you have this telling everything what to do and when. So, one more component back here that I haven't explained is the fuses and the breakers. So, That 12-volt fuse block has fuses so that no power gets overloaded. If anything happens, a mini fuse will blow, I'll switch it out and change it. That very rarely happens, and to be honest, it only happens when I'm working on the system and I mess something up. These are breakers. There is one running in between the positive terminal on the battery and the solar charge controller, and I have a fuse running in between the solar panels and the solar charge controller. Those are there to make sure that enormous surges of power do not go through into my system and fry every single thing. Most people will be putting fuses instead of breakers, but I went with breakers because it's just a lot more effective and cheaper in the long run. Because if anything ever goes wrong, all I have to do is flip my breaker off and back on, and it's reset again. I don't have to go out and find a new fuse and make all of that work, because these are a little bit more heavy duty. One more fuse that I have back here is in between the positive of this inverter and the positive of the battery. And that does the same thing. It just protects everything and makes sure nothing fries on me. So this is Nellie, this is my brother's dog, and if you guys like this video, please subscribe and leave us a thumbs up, because we want to be able to create more videos that help you get on the road sooner. So another way that a lot of van lifers end up charging their system versus buying solar panels, or what they do is they use solar panels and this method, is charging through your vehicle's alternator. So that means that when your van's running and you're driving, you're also charging your batteries without taking away from your vehicle's actual batteries. So my van came with an auxiliary battery underneath the passenger seat. This used to be a prisoner vehicle, so it had a wheelchair lift in the back and a wire that had already been hooked up to this battery all the way in the back of the van that powered that wheelchair lift. So what I ended up doing was taking that positive wire in the back of the van and hooking it into my batteries in order to be charging while I was driving. Over time, this vehicle's from 2006, so this battery went sour and started to smell like eggs. So we completely disconnected that function, and I'm going to replace this in the future so that in the winter time, when there's no solar or little bit of solar, we've got another option for charging our batteries. So this method would be called charging through an alternator or using a battery isolator. And this is a great way to charge your batteries for a lot of people. So you're probably wondering what a solar system this size is able to power. I've got 200 watts of solar, which is considered a little bit in the off-grid solar panel world. And this is able to power my ceiling lights, my bed light, kitchen lights, ceiling fan, the water pump, my 12-volt fridge, the USB hub that powers all of our phones, 120-volt outlets throughout the van, the toilet fan, which pushes the smells outside, and our diesel heater. So now is the part where I tell you what I would do differently in the future. When I was building out the van, I was building it out for just myself, so I sized it according to all of my needs. Since then, I've met David and we're in this van together, so we need a little bit more power. What we would do next time or change up in the future is get a bigger battery bank, which would also bring in a little bit more solar. So the reason for that being is we're working on our laptops all of the time, and we always need to have something charging since we are working mobily all the time. Another thing that we would change is we would probably get lithium batteries instead of deep cycle AGM gel batteries. The reason for that being is lithium has proven to be a lot more efficient and just lasts longer. There's a lot of pros to getting lithium, and so we would probably go with that. They are a lot more expensive, and that's why I didn't go with them at the beginning of this. We would also get more solar panels, which would probably be 200 more watts, so probably 400 watts of solar panels in the future. There's not that much that we would want to change about it. We love all of the components. It works really well for us, except for in the winter time. That's the only time we ever notice a drop in power. In the summer, there's so much power we don't even have to think about using power at all. So we're pretty happy with the system this far. We would just upgrade it with more money in the future. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that you learned something from this and you're able to apply it to your van build right now or hopefully in the future. There are tons of online resources, and that's the way I learned how to do all of this for my van build. At the beginning, I had no clue what I was doing, but now I have a pretty good grasp on it and feel confident in doing it in the future whenever I need to do it. So feel confident that you can do it. There are tons of resources, and if you guys want some step-by-step guidance, we do have van build consultations and would love to walk you through that and help you out. So you can find all of that on our website or just get in touch with us through the comments below and we'll talk to you. We hope you guys have a great week and thank you for watching. Stay healthy.